Well, hey, good morning, and welcome back. It's Dan MacDonald. Hey, happy Monday, everyone. Hopefully it's a happy Monday for you. I know for a lot of people it is not. I got a message this morning via social media, and this person writes, I need to stay anonymous, but as an essential worker that now seems to be overlooked when talking about essential workers, this pandemic is taking a toll on my mental health each day. My social media feed is full of negativity. My coworkers are unhappy. There seems to be an overall lack of joy. My heart is heavy each day, and while I try to find and make my own happiness, I seem to be having more anxiety issues, more therapy visits, and isolating myself physically and emotionally from the outside world. Going to work, coming home, getting groceries bi-weekly are my only activities. I know I'm not the only one going through this, yet I put on a strong facade at work and for my family, but inside I feel alone. I hope for some small pieces of joy and lightness soon for everyone. Not alone, and I'm happy to hear from that person that they are going to see. They said more therapy visits, but good that you are talking about it to someone. That's such an important thing to do, and I mean, it's being called a parallel pandemic. That parallel pandemic is loneliness and the toll that it's taking on us, especially right now. Joining us on the phone to talk a little bit about the impact on mental health that this has had, particularly at the start of 2021, Executive Director of Canadian Mental Health Association, Kim Willis, joining us on the phone. Morning, Kim.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's funny because, I think now more than ever throughout the whole pandemic, January, February, going into March as we approach the 1-year anniversary, it seems that a lot of us are really hitting a wall now with anxiety, depression, and loneliness is a pretty big part of that.
And when you were reading that text you received, I was thinking that any one of us could be sending that and sharing those same sentiments. I fully agree. I think it's been very tough since that second lockdown, and we're almost approaching the 1-year mark of living in this surreal reality, and people are hitting a wall.
Why isn't, I was reading in that article about Canadian mental health and loneliness and chronic loneliness. Loneliness is not recognized as a medical issue, but it seems to have a lot of effects on people that would be medical issues. Do you think this pandemic is going to change the way people look at loneliness and maybe even make services available so people aren't as isolated anymore?
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. And I think what we have seen over the last year is people realizing how important their mental health is and taking care of it. And certainly loneliness, we're hearing a lot about that right now. And I've seen several articles and pieces over the last few weeks, especially highlighting how prevalent this is. And the article points out, it does have such a significant impact on us, that loneliness at its extreme can be the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and it affects our immune system, and once that gets depleted, our physical health can break down, we're not sleeping as well, and it's just an ugly cyclical situation that we find ourselves in.
I was reading, that blew my mind, that loneliness can at its worst have the same impact as 15 cigarettes a day. That really blew my mind, reading that stat from that study.
Yeah, and I think that just proves and highlights that how our mental health and what we're feeling emotionally has such an impact on our whole selves.
Absolutely. Is there one group that's hit the hardest? I mean, I thought right away seniors, but then I was thinking about students who are in high school and even post-secondary, and life is completely different than what we experienced when we were in high school and post-secondary. Is there a group that is being hit the hardest that you've noticed?
Yeah, I would say for sure seniors. Anyone who's living alone right now is I'm sure struggling. And I know I've talked to some people in that live in Toronto, and if you're living in a condo in downtown Toronto, you're just in this small space to begin with. And if you're working remotely, it's just, I don't know, that really put it in perspective that your walls would feel really like they're closing in on you. And marginalized communities, I think for a lot of us, we have had the luxury of technology, and that has allowed us to keep connected. But not everyone has access to those tools. So certainly those groups, and like you mentioned, students and youth, I think it's been a real struggle, and not being able to have those social connections like we know and love is really challenging.
Something I'm hearing a lot about too, and it was mentioned in that text that I read from that worker, is anxiety and depression. And I think we're hearing about a lot of people who maybe never had to struggle with these things, who are now dealing with even just moderate to mild, if there is such a thing, depression, anxiety, where it's not a chronic issue, where it's just they're experiencing it now. When we are dealing with something like moderate depression or anxiety, as many of us are, what kind of recovery time do we usually look at when we start to actually deal with the problem?
Yeah, I think, and the article pointed out as well that if you broke your arm, you would go seek help for it immediately, and that if you're sitting there going, I'm not doing so well, and I am feeling anxious and depressed, that at that point you might want to reach out for some help, and there are programs and services available in our community, so we're lucky to have those resources. So I would say, if you're noticing those feelings increasingly, reach out. If it inhibits your regular day-to-day functioning, that's a real indicator that you should be talking to someone or finding some help. And the longer that it goes on untreated, it can lead to psychosis and suicidal thoughts and substance misuse. So you really do want to take charge when you see and are acknowledging those feelings and thoughts.
Really quickly, too, because I had a friend, actually, who had no idea, and this sounds ridiculous, but when she explained it to me, I understood it. She had no idea that she had anxiety. She had all these, she's never dealt with it before. She was having all these strange feelings, and then one day she was reading a random article, and it hit her, and she thought, oh, my God, I have anxiety. I'm one of, I'm in that group. And she never connected the dots, and she thought, now I can start. What are some of the signs, the telltale signs that you are experiencing anxiety that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I think it can just be nervousness, and you have that pit in your stomach, and you're feeling anxious and nervous. It can affect your motivation for sure, your appetite, your sleep, whether your lack of interest in things that normally would be a big part of your life. I think any of those are good indicators. If you're turning to substances as well, that's also a telltale sign.
And I know early on, kind of maybe a month in, we talked about calls being up with Canadian Mental Health Association and people reaching out for services. How are our resources right now? Are we swamped, or are we doing okay as far as availability?
Yeah, we like I said, we're fortunate. We do have some great resources available in this community, and I would direct anyone to the Transitional Stability Center on Ouellette Ave that houses the Mental Health and Wellness Center, as well as the Mental Health and Addictions Urgent Care Clinic now. You can walk through those doors with no appointment, and if you're struggling, they can help you to navigate the system. And similarly, you can call the number 519-973-4435. Same thing. You can call up and describe what you're experiencing, and they can help point you in the right direction. Family Services Windsor-Essex has free counseling services available. That, of course, everything is happening virtually for the most part right now. So we are fortunate, and CMHA Ontario also has an online telephone program, if you will, called Bounce Back, and you can access Bounce Back on the internet to find out more about that. But that's a really great evidence-based program. And I also want to highlight something that people might not be familiar with in the community, and that's the Windsor-Essex Compassionate Care Community. You can call them and arrange for weekly check-ins, or you just want to keep connected. That's what they're all about, and so another really great resource that people can reach out, especially those experiencing loneliness and isolation.
I love that, and that's Windsor-Essex Compassion Care Community. That's they're at WECCC.ca.
Yes, yeah, and their number is 519-974-2581, and the extension is 2420. And you can also access them by calling CMHA as well.
Excellent. I will definitely post those links. Those are some great tips for people reaching out. Kim, as always, thank you so much for coming on here.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Anytime. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Kim Willis from Canadian Mental Health Association, WECCC.ca, and of course you can always call as well, 519-973-4435 if you do need immediate help. But battling loneliness, it's a tough thing to battle right now, a tough thing to get out of, especially if so many of us don't have access to things like computers and social media, and we just want to talk to someone. I highly recommend giving a call to some of these places, 519-973-4435, or you can call Canadian Mental Health Association as well, and they can put you in touch with that's their number there, their 24-hour crisis hotline. Even if you just need direction of where to go, maybe it isn't a crisis, this is not the 911 number, this is just saying, I need help. This is what I'm dealing with. Who can I talk to? 519-973-4435. Call Canadian Mental Health Association, and maybe you have someone that you don't know how to help, and you need help helping them. Give them a call, and they can hook you up, because mental health is so important, and it's communication is what matters. 10:27. We're going to come back. Conversation continues.